Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about the things we can't see. Let's talk about 1, 2, 3 and how life is supposed to be. You are safe with me, so hear me out. There's so many things that we can talk about. So hear me out.
Welcome to episode 4 of Hero Me Out. Why are you laughing?
Not
Together with
waiting.
me, I have three very special friends na sila yung mga naging close ko since time immemorial. And they're also from, two of them are from the BS Psychology of the University of Santo Tomas, and one is from the BS Architecture of University of Santo Tomas, of the same university. Let's all welcome number one, Mr. Julian Shane Sisante. Number two, Miss Dinah Jorge, and number three, Mr. Sean Michael Frando. Hello.
Hello.
Hello
Hello.
po.
Hello. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello,
Hello,
na-miss ko kayo, guys.
Philippines.
Wow, kung makasabi ng na-miss, it's like we've
Hindi
never seen
nag-uusap.
each other yesterday. Oo nga eh. Okay, so, kamusta naman kayo? How's your life? How's your life? And how does it feel to finally be able to guest in my podcast?
Okay
Mm.
naman kami. Masaya naman. Kaso lang ang tagal namin naghintay.
Pero in
Ikaw,
all honesty,
ikaw pa nga
medyo
yung nagpapasabi ng next week na. tawa,
willing to
tawa
wait
ka
pa
dyan.
rin naman.
Hi, Sean. Oh, say hi, Sean. Kasi parang ma-recognize nila kung sino si Sean, sino si Dinah, sino si Shane. Mag-hi kayo. Hi, Sean.
Hello, this is my wonderful voice.
Yan. Hi, Dinah.
Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Yan. Hi, Shane.
Hello.
Yes, that's
Pag-baby
the
mo, Shane.
yun yung totoong voice po.
So, please, introduce yourself one by one. Let's start with the lady in the room. Miss Shane. Joke lang. Si Miss Dinah. Miss Dinah, go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dinah Jorge. I'm a blockmate of Shane's from UST, and we're seniors of psychology at UST.
Wow. Hello, Dinah. Nice to meet you. Now, Miss Shane.
Hello po. I'm Shane. I'm also a blockmate of Dinah. From the same course, of the same university, of the same year.
Yeah. And then Sean.
Hello, my name is Sean. I am a schoolmate of Dinah and Shane from the
Schoolmate lang
University
kasi hindi na
of Santo
ano,
Tomas.
hindi na
Apparently,
classmate.
I'm from UST College of Architecture. So
Wow.
parang medyo out of place ata ako
Wow.
dito. Parang dalawang
No.
psych
No,
students.
never feel that you're out of place. Nobody is ever out of place in this
Yes,
podcast.
let's
Yes.
promote inclusivity.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And of course, we're going to talk about mental health in the lenses of UST students, especially architecture and psychology students. Yeah. Tama, no?
The
Okay,
pressure.
so let's start talking about your mental health. How important is mental health in your daily life?
Um, I think for me, it's always an ongoing process to take care and better my mental health, because it's not just something that's one and done. So you
Yeah.
work on it continuously, and it's not always a linear progress. So um, it's something always at the back of my mind, I guess, every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Mental health, a lot of people have been thinking about mental health as something that only the people who are suffering with mental health should go through. No, pero in reality, everyone actually has mental health, whether or not it's a good mental health or a bad mental health. So, yeah, what's your opinion about mental health? How important do you think it is, Sean?
I think mental health is something na, kumbaga sa high school, kunyari, hindi siya masyadong na-bring up like sa
Mm.
mga classes natin and stuff. And I think it's a good sign na parang sa time na to, it's becoming more and more prevalent sa society natin. Like, mas madalas na siyang napapag-usapan, especially among the youth. And ayun, since ako rin, parang I'm learning more about my own mental health and how to address this kind of topic like sa other
Day by
friends
day.
ko and other people, yeah.
Mm-mm.
So ayun.
Yeah. Thank you, Sean. Shane, how important is mental health for you?
For me, very ano siya, important, very essential to know as a person. Kasi, yun nga, parang yung sinabi ni Diana kanina na it's an ongoing process. May times na okay naman yung mental health mo. Tapos may times na hindi. So, ayun, parang, yun din, for me, so, napaproud naman ako sa, ano, sa society natin yan. Kasi, especially sa mga schools, parang ano, may mga mental health week. Tapos, merong mga
Yes.
mental health break.
Meron ba tayong mental health weeks sa high school natin?
Hindi, wala. Pero,
Same.
Okay, go tuloy.
pero at least ngayon, kunyari sa college namin, parang may ano, may mental health break, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Madaming colleges na especially nung nagkaroon ng pandemic.
Yeah.
Parang ang dami nagpatupad ng mental health break. So nakakatuwa na iniisip din nila na ayun, sobrang na important talaga yung mental health. It's as important as physical health, if not
Mm.
more important.
And this topic of mental health, it's slowly starting to be a part of the mainstream media, no? One important factor where I see the sensitivity in mental health is when people like place trigger warnings sa mga posts that might possibly trigger people, 'di ba? It's so cool kasi we're slowly starting to be able to incorporate the culture of mental health sensitivity in the media. Anong thoughts nyo dun sa mga trigger warnings and everything?
Kasi nag-post ako sa IG ko. Meron akong ano, 'di ba? Na may nakalagay trigger warning. Tapos ang dami ko sinabi. For me, very important din siya yung maglagay ka ng trigger warning para kasi may mga tao na kunyari ngayon, okay sila in general. Pero pag naalala nila na yung trauma based doon sa post mo, pwedeng mag-relapse or pwedeng bumalik lahat ng ano.
Yeah. Yung
Kaya
mga thoughts, 'di ba? Yung mga traumas and yung mga the very traumas that you're avoiding baka unsolicited pa bumalik pa sa'yo because of that
Tsaka
certain
kahit,
post.
meron mga tao kasi nagsabi na, di ba, parang naka-move on sila, ganyan. Pero at the same time, nandun pa din. Kahit naka-move on na sila, may times na dahil sa isang bagay, babalik siya. Tapos hindi naman natin kontrolado yun. Kaya yun, siguro very important din na na i-consider natin yung ibang tao sa mga posts natin.
Yeah, amazing. Tell me about your mental health. Shane.
What? Actually, okay naman siya. Feel ko okay naman ako. Wala naman ako nararamdaman na anything. Hindi naman ako sad. Siguro medyo stressed kasi thesis, very thesis.
Parang it comes with the process, no?
Kasi as student, siguro yung stress lang sa schoolworks, gano'n. Pero ako happy naman ako kasi nandiyan yung mga friends ko. Kayo, nandiyan yung ibang friends na nakakausap ko naman. Kahit hindi physically, at least nakakausap ko pa din sila.
Yeah. Thank goodness for social media, no? Pero one opinion that I have with social media is we're being more connected, but are we really connected? Wow!
Oo naman.
Next
naging
podcast.
Naging friends ka kay ni Daine.
True.
Oo nga.
Oo nga.
Actually, even before pandemic, parang tayong tatlo ni Shane, even though magkaka-blockmates tayo before, parang hindi naman tayo as connected
Before.
yung mga times na sa face-to-face college. And then, pandemic, parang after a few months, all of a sudden, ayun, nagkakausap na tayo. Tapos
Yeah.
parang everyday na tayo nag-uusap ganun.
Oo nga. Ang ganda ng point. So I guess we can say na it comes with its own advantages and disadvantages.
May silver lining.
Having media in ano during the time of the pandemic. How tell me about your mental health, Dinah.
I think same with Shane. Na in general, okay naman. Lately, I haven't been too much of one mood, siguro. Like too sad or too angry. And yung stress, siguro it's at a manageable level. I think I'm past that stage where the stress was really unbearable. And
Mm-mm.
it was because of ACADS then.
Yeah. And
But
I just want
yeah.
to sorry. I just want to emphasize how you said na the stress is manageable kasi usually when people feel stress, they already feel that it's on the extremes part. Pero I want other people to know na these mental health conditions, mga stress, mga anxiety, it comes with its own mixture sa emotions natin na it doesn't mean that you're feeling just the slightest bit of stress means that you're already on the extremes part of diagnosing yourself with a specific mental illness. There's still some normal amounts of stress and anxiety depending on your anong tawag mo doon, mga hormones. Tama ba? Please correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are psychology students. Or hindi nyo kin alam.
Factor yun
Ako pala yung
siya.
nakakaalam.
Um,
Factor
and
yung,
yeah,
factor yung hormones.
Mm.
adding to that, kasi stress is actually required for us, not like in our lives. It's
Mm.
something you can't really take out of your life. And there's always like a normal amount of stress or a normal gravity of stress that you can handle. Thus it's your response to it and the way you handle it. It's something you can teach yourself then and grow. So like if you healthily handle stress, then it's like you're more equipped to go through challenges in life.
Yeah, I agree.
At
And
yun
ano,
din pala,
Shane?
meron kasing different types of stress. Meron, di ba, parang eustress, positive. Yun yung positive type of stress. Tapos parang meron namang de-stress. Yun yung negative type of stress.
Wow.
Yung alam kasi natin, like, in general, parang pag sinabing stress, ano agad, negative agad yung connotation niya.
Oo nga, oo nga.
So, ayun. Yun parang yung sinasabi ni Dayo na if you know how to healthily handle it, edi hindi siya magkakaroon ng negative impact sa'yo.
Wow.
I'm learning so much.
Wow, amazing. Like a few minutes in, I'm already learning so much. Ako rin. Sean, please tell us about your mental health.
Yeah, I would say generally, I'm coping well, maybe even better than I was coping before. Like during start ng pandemic, as I was going through some stuff nung second year of my college life. But essentially, I would say there are definitely some highs and meron ding mga low points. And I think normal naman yung stress, but parang when you get sick sometimes diba, you never really know parang kailan siya tatama. It just
Yeah.
happens. Parang ganun. So
Because of the circumstances.
yeah, I would say na ngayon, I'm learning how to cope with it, like learning how to address it, like as I go through with some issues that I face. Yeah.
Tell me about your stress response behaviors. Let's start with Dinah. How do you cope with specific stress, specific anxiety, specific or other mental health conditions na nafi-feel mo? How do you cope? What's your stress response behavior?
When I encounter stress, specifically about mostly naman my stress has been about academics. So I procrastinate a lot. And I get stressed about procrastinating, but also meeting the deadline.
Yeah, so it
I
goes
don't
in
like
circles.
yeah, it's Self-perpetuating.
Yeah.
I
Nasistress
second
ako
the
kasi
motion.
I third the motion. May magpo-fourth ba dyan?
Let's hope. Laging groupmate ni Dina.
Ay, oo nga. Kasi for context, si Dinah pati si Shane, groupmates sila, no? Including sa thesis, no? Ay,
Opo,
shoutout
leader.
nga pala sa ano, shoutout nga pala sa mga groupmates natin. Hello po, ako po yung ano nyo, fifth
Panoorin nila
groupmate
to.
nyo.
At yung bonding moments namin next week.
This far in, papanoorin nila, ay, pakikinggan nila? I don't think so.
Ay, wala silang choice. Papalitin sila ni Dina sa bahay.
Requirement para makatulog.
Okay, hello, shoutout sa mga groupmates. Sino yun? Si Korean? Si...
Si Jean
Si...
and si Ruel.
Hello, hello, shoutout. Next time, kayo naman yung i-guest ko para... Joke lang.
Wow.
Joke lang. Parang close no? Feeling close. Okay, so, nasabi mo na ba what your stress response behavior is?
No.
Dinah? What's your stress response behavior?
I think the method that works the best for me is writing down in small tasks. Kasi, of course, you have a bigger task, na a goal na you need to finish. And I think what works best for me is writing them down in small, like, doable tasks. Tapos, like, working on it na talaga. I think with stress, it doesn't work for me na I do something I enjoy or love. Kasi I'm still stressed about meeting deadlines. So, ma-associate ko yung action na yun with a negative feeling then. So, as much as, like, I want to do that, the relief I feel after doing the task and being able to
Yes.
achieve it na is so much more worth it than delaying it pa.
Yeah, and true, regardless of whether you have a mental illness or not, there's a certain feeling of satisfaction of taking down or ticking every small task there is, no matter how
Yeah.
small it is, no. If you look at the task in just it being a completed task alone, that small task, it doesn't look like much. But then when you look at all the small tasks that you've completed, compiled in one page or
Yeah.
one notebook, you'll feel na you were able to accomplish a lot so much in just a single day, no.
Yeah.
Sean, what is your stress response behavior?
My stress response, I'm no expert, pero I think generally, parang there's no just one way of coping with stress. For me, it's different every time. But the first step I take is to acknowledge na parang at this moment I'm parang kunyari nagpapanik ako. I need to acknowledge that feeling first. Na I need to take a step back, take a breather, and then from then on, dun ako mag-decide what steps I need to do. And another thing is, I think it really helps na, ayun nga, medyo related din that you get to express how you feel. So I think having your companions or friends to talk to, the ones that you can share your deepest feelings with, I think it really helps para ma-contain mo yung emotions, ganun, para
Yeah, I
some
like how
some
I like how kapag sobrang busy natin, kahit no matter how busy we are, pag may nag-invite maglaro,
yeah, I think
nabubudol
that
tayo. I think there's some advantage and disadvantage to that. Number one, disadvantage, parang I shouldn't be doing this, pero ba't ako nabubudol? Pero yung advantage din, sometimes we feel like we're overworking ourselves na we want to think that we deserve this. And we do.
the
Or as
lesson
The thesis
is
leader. Yeah.
Valorant is the number one stress reliever.
Wow.
pero pagdating sa game, ano ba? Ang gulo naman dyan. Nag-aaway.
Mas na-stress pa lalo.
Oo nga. Thank you, Sean. Shane, what's your stress response behavior?
Well, Hindi ako nasi-stress.
Sana all.
Pa-share naman po paano.
Baka gusto niyo pong kumuha sa amin.
Pero kidding aside, siguro kasi as part ng isang group na lagi nagpo-procrastinate, sabihin,
Bakit may pagsipsip?
sorry, hirap
Pod-
sabihin din.
Podcast po to, miss.
Procrastinate. Yun.
Nagka-cram.
Yan, nagka-cram. C-R-A-M. Yun, siguro as part of a group na lagi nagka-cram. Yun pagdating sa thesis. Siguro, way na din siya, yung procrastinating as defense mechanism for stress. For me, ha. Kasi kunyari, yun nga, may mga deadlines. Kasi ako, personally, mahilig ako magsimula ng matas. Simulan ko lang siya. Hindi ko siya tatapusin.
Ningas kugon ka, girl.
Simulan ko siya. Hindi ko siya tatapusin. Pero at least, yung sa mind ko, mapuput siya into ease. Kasi isipin ko, at least meron ako na simulan. Pwede ko siyang ituloy. At least nabawasan ng kahit pa paano. Yun parang iisip ko, yun nga, kahit pa paano, mas onti yung gagawin ko. Mas onti yung kailangan kong gawin. So, tapos after nun, pag stress talaga ako, matutulog talaga ako. Tulog talaga, rest. Kasi, yun nga, yung lagi ko yung iniisip, sinabi ko din ako sa libraries, na parang, if stressed ka, but hindi naman to race eh. Hindi tayo nagpapaunahan dito. Pwede kang tumigil. Pwede kang magpahinga. Pwede kang, stop. Just breathe. Ganun. Maglaro ha. Tanggalin yung stress mo. Tapos after nun, pag okay ka, tuloy mo na.
Yeah.
Kasi, madami kasi parang gusto nila matapos agad. Pinipilit nila kahit hindi naman kaya. I mean, siguro, yun nga, siguro yung parang negative na deadlines. Parang, iniisip, madaming tao na pinipilit na tapusin.
Yeah.
Kahit hindi nila kaya. Parang may mga ibang tao naman na mas pinaprioritize yung sarili nila. Kahit deadline, sige, okay lang. Late ako magpapasa. Basta okay ako.
Yeah.
I like that.
Everyone, that's procrastinitis.
Yeah. Adding on to what
Coined by
Shane
me.
said,
Yes,
I
Dana.
realized na but like I'm very avoidant with stress. So like sometimes I don't learn how to deal with them. Tapos when I encounter that same issue later on, parang I don't know how to deal with it kasi I avoided it. Like, hindi ko siya
Same Dina, no? Ako, my stress response behavior, one of my stress response behaviors is sleep. Like oversleeping. Like sometimes there comes a point where the thoughts, the stress, the anxiety all just tends to overwhelm me to the point that I just sleep kasi hindi ko kinakaya.
Yeah.
And there's also another reason why I tend to have procrastinitis. This isn't an actual term ha. Baka mamaya may mag-cite sa akin. This is coined by me. Mga joke lang. Also, one reason why I tend to procrastinate a lot is kasi when there's a certain task at hand, I tend to think about it being complicated already. Na parang, this is something na napakalaki na naman, it would take a big space of my mind just to be able to think of and do. Kaya parang, I don't have time for this yet. So parang, when you think that you don't have time, you really don't have time.
Yeah.
Tapos, usually, as what Dinah has said kanina, it goes in circles. So, mas-stress ka kasi hindi mo ginagawa. Tapos mas-stress ka kasi palapit na yung deadline. Tapos mas-stress ka lalo. Di mo mga ganon. And everything.
Can I add din sa sinabi ni Shane kanina?
Yes.
Kasi this is really interesting kasi may napanood akong video. It's an interview with Robert Downey Jr. Parang minention niya kasi we live...
I am Iron Man.
Hindi yun. Iba yun, iba yun.
Sorry, sorry.
Sabi niya, we live in a society where people always say na parang continue tayo ng continue, push lang ng push. But I think oftentimes we fail to say na it's okay to stop for a bit. Stop chasing whatever you're chasing and just take a step back, rest, and then figure things out. Parang sa pacing ngayon ng society, nandun na yung notion na dapat we have to be successful agad-agad, like in the fastest way possible.
Mm.
And yun nga, sinabi ni Shane na it's not a race. This is something that um, I personally go through. Parang, kasi nga, there's, parang na-delay din ako for like a year. And then, yung mga kabatch ko ngayon, parang nag-thesis na, nag-graduate na. And then na-stuck ako dito sa parang idea na, oh my God, lahat na sila nag-move forward. Tapos here I am, parang left behind. And I think it took me a while to realize na yun nga, hindi siya race. And I just have to go through this through my own pace.
Yeah, and it took you a while to realize na you're still making progress.
Yeah, that's exactly
Diba?
it.
Diba? And I mean, in the time today, society tend to like stigmatize rest to the point na the slightest opportunity that we have of resting na nagigilty na tayo. I mean, we shouldn't feel
Yeah.
that way, 'di ba? I mean, rest is a natural thing that we humans always go through, 'di ba? So parang um it's so stressful how the thought that when you get delayed, when you take time to rest, some people already tend to think na he's not gonna make any progress anymore since he got delayed. But no, that's not true. In what phase are you already in your semester, Sean? Diba you're still progressing? Which
Yeah.
means that a certain setback doesn't necessarily mean that it's a dead end for you. Diba? Sobrang true. Isipin mo, Sean, in a decade or so, would people really think about, siya yung na-delay ng 1 year? Di ba hindi?
Exactly.
Di ba hindi? What would matter in the end is, ay, graduate siya ng architecture. Ay, architect siya. Di ba? None of those things would ever matter when we grow up a few years from now. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really important because I think a lot of people are going through the same kind of issue. Lalo na ngayong pandemic, like people are thinking, magluluwa ba ako? Parang mag-stop ba ako for a year? Parang worth ba yung risk na, worth it ba yung 1 year of rest kung pwede naman ako graduate na maaga?
And that's a big problem now, no? Kasi since the pandemic started, a lot of people have been going on leave of absence, have been stopping on their school kasi they can't be able to handle their home and going to school online at the same time. So, I think that's a very important message that we're leaving out there na regardless of wherever you are right now, it's important that you make progress. Kahit one step at a time, kahit gaano kaliit pa tong progress na to. Progress is progress. We can't say na, this is a small progress. No, it's still a progress regardless. Right? Thank you for your sharing regarding that. Now, how can
Na-realize ko lang, Henry,
yeah,
pala.
Sean.
Wait lang. Tinanong ka ba namin, how is your mental health?
Wow.
Wow. Kasi
Natouch ako
oftentimes, lagi tayo yung nagtatanong pero hindi natin ina-assess sarili natin.
Oh. Speaking from experience, joke lang. Wow, thank you so much for keeping me in check. Thank you. So far my mental health has been okay. Pero there are a lot of things that has been contributing to my stress and my anxiety, and it's not just work. It's also a lot of other factors, personal factors. Tapos, sometimes, my way of coping is also unhealthy din na I tend to sleep to the point na I'm not able to do anything anymore. And it's sad kasi nagigilty ako whenever I sleep and wake up na, hey, I should have spent this time like doing this, doing that. And nagigilty pa ako ng mga people around me, pressuring me into being able to do it already, but then hindi pa pala. Gaya nung Gaya ng mga guide questions. Joke lang. Pero anyways, overall, I think when I'm going to describe my mental health, um, it's okay now, but it was worse before. It was bad before. So I can definitely say that I'm currently okay for now. Yeah. And
Cheers to
emphasis on the for
progress.
now. Emphasis on the for now. Kasi a lot of people think na, if you don't have a mental illness, I will never have a mental illness ever in my life. No,
Yeah.
that
True.
it's something that we're susceptible to. How can a person's environment affect their mental health? Let's start with Miss Dinah.
Um, I think environment is a very broad term, and your environment is very important from the moment you're a kid. So, meron kang immediate environment, your family, your house,
Mm-mm.
and then you start going to school. So that's another environment you get influenced and influence in.
Mm-mm.
I think humans are social beings. Yes.
Yes.
So the environment is a factor you can take out in when thinking about mental health kasi it's shaped by culture then and traditions
Mm-mm.
and sometimes culture changes
Yeah.
and we don't always fit to that mold, I guess.
Mm-mm.
As times evolve, syempre, nagbabago rin mga norms
Yeah.
and like you were saying a while ago na recently society has been more accepting of uh, mental health culture.
Yeah.
Before that wasn't really the case. So I think the environment is big in the way that it'll impact generations.
Yeah. And
Some
their mental
generations
health.
have this mentality about certain topics because that's how the environment raised them when they were younger.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think it's very important to take in and be aware of your environment.
Yeah. And I agree that when you mentioned the environment being a very broad topic in just covering just that question regarding mental health kasi there are a lot of factors that affect mental health in the environment, right? There are a lot of
Yeah.
branches that root towards a lot of different aspects as well. Kaya it's really super broad, and it's very important that we recognize each of these factors that affect us and our mental health. And yeah, I think it's important that you be conscious about it, even if not all of these.
Mhm.
Miss Shin, how does the environment affect your mental health?
Siguro dun sa ano, based din sa sinabi nila kanina, yun nga, since bata pa lang tayo, sobrang important na nung environment. Kasi yun nga, nandun yung parents, nandun yun, tapos pag nag-school ka na, ibang environment naman.
Mm-mm.
Tapos, ang naisip ko dun kasi sa tanong mo, yung ano, alam mo yung nature versus nurture na ano, na
Yeah.
debate.
Oo.
So, ayun, madami kasi, parang, di ba, ang daming nagde-debate na, mas importante yung nature, mas importante yung nurture. Kasi yung nature, para sa ano siya, genetics,
Mm-mm.
yung kung ano yung inherit mo na genes, yan,
Biology, yeah.
more on biological siya. Tapos yung sa nurture naman, more on environment, more on sociology,
Yeah.
more on, and then your own behavior, ganun. So, for me, yun din. Parang, lahat kasi ng bagay dapat may balance. So, siguro, pareho silang important. Yung nature and yung nurture.
Yes.
Pero siguro, sabihin natin na, kailangan maganda kasi yung environment ng isang tao para maganda din yung kalabasan niya. I mean, for me lang yun. Kasi, for, may mga tao naman kasi na, ano, diba, nanggaling sila sa pangit na environment, sa toxic na environment. Pero,
Mm-mm.
as a person, kinaya nila na mag-strive para, like, nanggaling sila sa isang toxic environment, pero okay naman sila. Hindi sila
They
toxic.
flourish.
They still flourish. May mga ganun eh. Pero may mga tao kasi na, ever since childhood, very toxic na environment niya.
Mm-mm.
Pumasok siya sa school, mas naging toxic, may bullying, ganyan. Tapos, sumampa siya ng high school, ng college. hindi na-address yung mga problems.
Yeah.
So, ayun, siguro, very important talaga yung environment, yung who we spend our time with, who
Yes.
influences us, as well as how we influence others then.
Mm-mm.
Yun.
Yeah. Thank you, Shane. That's so meaningful. Wow. Sean, how does the environment affect our mental health?
As an architecture student, na-pressure ako sa sagot ng ating dalawang psych studies kasi sobrang technical. Pero the best way the best way I know how to explain it is, kumbaga, 'di ba, pre-pandemic, we were much more free to
Mm-mm.
walk out, ganun, go to different sorts of environments. But now, ngayon sa pandemic, parang, yun nga, we're stuck at home. But unfortunately, not all of us have the privilege of having a safe and comfortable home. And ayun nga, I think people undermine how much of an effect your environment can have. Like me personally, something I went through recently was I was able to um, go to Davao. I think that was my first vacation in years. Yes. Hello
Davao.
po sa mga Davao peeps.
Yeah, hello to all my classmates and my batchmates and to all my friends who are listening to this podcast from Davao. Hala.
Shout out to all of you. And
Hello
then,
po.
yeah, as I was saying, yeah, moving to Davao, I was able to parang switch to a different environment. And I think that parang yung 1 week na yun na I was able to go through that definitely changed something, like how I view things, my perspective. Maybe di naman sobrang dramatic, but I think yung subtle change can have significant impact
Mm.
on yun nga, your situation, your health. And then going back to the same environment that I've been in before, parang, ayun nga, refresh na ako going back.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Parang na energize ka na ulit
Yeah.
to face all the
Then suddenly ready na ulit ako to face my
yeah.
plates.
Yeah. How important is mental health in the community? Speaking of community, with regard to the barangays, with regard to creating mental health programs sa barangays, do you think that this is the mental health programs that these people are initiating is enough for everyone, especially in the community aspect? Sino mauna?
Sige, I'll start. Personally, hindi ako masyado aware sa mga like programs na nangyari, but I think mental health is not just a personal issue that yes, it's personal, pero it's something na as a community we have to address. Kasi it's health. Parang it's the same with physical health. Kung paano mo i-address yung physical health, dapat ganun mo din i-address yung mental health mo. So I think yung mga programs na dapat i-establish ng mga governments, mga organizations, you would address it how you would address your common sickness sa mga physical aspects. Ganun. And yeah, yun lang.
Thank you, Sean. Miss Shane.
Siguro sa community in general, society. Sa society in general, parang yun nga. Yung katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, parang yung term na mental health, parang binibigyan na siya ng importance ng madaming tao. Pero siguro yung pagdating naman sa mga policies na ini-implement, for me, parang kulang pa siya. Kasi, for example, sa mga people who are addicted to substances, who abuse substances like drugs, alcohol, parang ang inaano pa din ng iba sa government or sa community
Yeah.
natin, hindi nila tinuturing siya as a disorder or as sickness. Parang tinuturing nila sila as criminals.
Yeah.
Hindi nila kasalanan yun. Kasi yun nga, yung katulad ng sabi ko na parang madami na tao na influence
Yeah,
ng
I agree.
environment. Yung
That's a
iba,
very important aspect that we're considering and that we're talking about kasi um I agree, no, although meron namang mga tao talaga na na
mm,
na who are doing those kinds of things. It's also important to look at the environment around them and how it has molded them to behave the way that they are now. And kasi sorry kung medyo nagiging political to, pero it's important that we talk about this kasi um the extrajudicial killings has been super damaging and
mm,
um super hard, especially on the people affected by poverty a lot, especially to those whose families are victims of the extrajudicial killings. Kasi it implies one thing. It implies na it's never going to end, and number two, it implies that it's always the person's fault for doing that. Tapos what's worse, they're being killed extrajudicially, without due process. And it's sad kasi um whenever there are times that we think that may pag-asa pa siya, we can still do something about it. It's sad kasi they're already killed mercilessly. And I hate how um people in the government think that they're above the law. And
ah, mas nakakagalit din yung part na may mga inosenteng tao na nadadamay. Yung
yeah,
di ba, hindi naman sila gumagamit ng anything. Hindi naman sila nag-abuse ng drugs. Pero
mm,
parang nadadamay sila.
yeah,
In no way is it a solution to the problem they're trying to solve.
Mhm.
Parang, however you look at it, walang solution that ends up in killing people
yeah.
Mm-mm.
who are sick now.
And realistically speaking, if the government is really familiar of the drug pyramid and how it works, they will know that the extrajudicial killings, the war on drugs, is not effective. It's important that the government must also be familiar of the drug pyramid. Kasi no person who's familiar of the drug pyramid would think that the method of the war on drugs is that's through killing is working. Kasi how does it look like? Basically the on the topmost pyramid are the drug lords, the drug cartels and everything. On the base of the pyramid are these users, these sellers, these pushers, and it doesn't necessarily destroy the problem on drugs unless you solve it at its roots, 'di ba? And nafi-feel ko na yung pag na-anticipate ko na yung mangyayari in the future na kapag in another president's rule, sasabihin naman ng mga tao na lumala na yung drug problem natin. Lumala na naman. My opinion about that is it never worked in the first place. 'Di ba? That's what's important. It's important to rehabilitate these people who are going through these illegal behaviors and problematic behaviors. Kasi at the same time, there's the same amount of mental health that comes to it. 'Di ba? Yung mental health, it may probably be regarding their mental health condition. 'Di ba? Sobrang too, that's why it's so inhumane,
Mhm.
EJKs. And I feel sad about it kasi we all know, since I'm familiar with the drug pyramid, we all know that it's not going to work. And coming from a course na from the communication and media area, the
Mm-mm.
public relations, it's very important. The slightest word that you say, the slightest word that leaders in power says is already generating big impact on the people that they're governing. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. 'Diba? Sorry kung naging political na, pero it's important
No.
that we
Yeah.
address that.
As you
Mm-mm.
said,
It's
it's important.
Yeah, kasi it's mental health is a part of it. And we're not exactly addressing mental health in the Philippines if we don't talk about that. So I'm sorry for those people who are thinking na ay naging political na to, ay naging anti-government na to. It's important that we have the same amount of critical thinking towards the government, other than just praising them for their own good deeds. Kasi it's high time we stop placing them on a pedestal, 'di ba?
True.
We hold the government accountable for behaviors or actions that are really accountable and problematic. But then we also thank them and praise them for the things that they do for us. Kasi iniisip ng mga tao, if you like be critical of the government, ay antay na siya dito. Ay, 'di ba? Parang ay terorista ka na. Nire-red tag na tayo and everything. And I think one description of being in a democratic and healthy government and a healthy country is where people are able to have the freedom to be able to hold the people in power accountable. Yeah. And that's it
And
for the
mental
political
health
aspect.
is
Yes, Dinah.
political. I mean, mental health is political kasi it's also part of the environment. If the
Everything is
people who govern you,
political.
if the people who govern like a certain place, they don't do it well, then you have so much more problems than personal ones, like
Mm-mm.
finding a home, like having food to eat in a day, like working so many jobs. It's because the country isn't governed properly. So all of those ties to mental health, then kaya it's inevitable na you can get political when talking about mental health.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Dinah. I'm ready to receive the hate. Madaming matitrigger because we talked about politics regarding mental health, but yeah, it's inevitable that we talk
Mm-mm.
about it. We're going to be talking about it sooner or later. I'm ready to take the fire. Sorry, joke lang. Next, let's talk about the living conditions and one's own personal space. Do you think personal space is something that is culturally important to us? How do you think personal space affects mental health? 'Di ba?
Ah,
That's an
ako na to.
important topic. Go. Go.
Ano to?
Take it away, Shane.
Ah, kasi as my friends, alam niyo naman kung gaano ka-importante sa akin yung personal space.
Oo, tapos biglang mangungurot. Go, Shane.
Hindi wala. So, may mga tao kasi sobrang may mga tao na may mga people person. Merong ganun. Tapos
Yeah.
meron ng mga enough lang yung social battery niya para sa a few number of people. So, meron naman
Yeah.
talaga yung mga ayaw talaga sa tao. Minsan, nandun ako in between. Madalas nandun ako sa ayoko sa tao. Ayaw. Hindi,
Na-witness ko na to.
Kasi, for me, yun nga, parang, ang stress reliever ko kasi is magpahinga. Ang iniisip ko kasi, paano ka makapagpahinga kung ang daming lalapit sa'yo na mangungulit. Hindi,
Mangungurot. parang ikaw din yung pinapatamaan ng mga sarili mo sa ito.
hindi, pero, yung sinasabi ko kasi, more on siya sa ibang tao. Like, kunyari, kung
Yeah.
you should know your limitations, siguro.
Yeah. Mhm.
Kasi kunyari, kung close friends, why not? Go. Kasi, ganun naman tayo, di ba? Parang kapag
Yeah.
close tayo, sige, mag-asaran tayo kahit sapahan pa tayo dito. Basta at the end of the day, alam na friends tayo. Pero may kasi mga tao na parang, kahit, kunyari, hindi kayo close. Parang binibreach niya yung personal space mo. Tapos parang, hindi niya alam kung saan siya lulugar. Hindi niya alam yung limitations. Doon ako magtanuno. Like, kunyari, may mga issues ka na, kunyari, may pinag-uusapan tayo ng issues tayo. Mga secrets, ganyan. So, may magbabat in na isa pang friend. Pero hindi naman kasama sa group natin.
Mm.
parang nakakabastos siya in a way. Kasi, yun nga, parang personal space, privacy,
Mm-mm.
it's not your story, it's mine. So, parang, um, yun, know your boundaries lang siguro.
Mm-mm. And but at the same time, there's also this area where hindi mo alam if nang-invade ka na ng personal
Mm-mm.
space o hindi. And that's what's confusing us, no?
Yun
How
din
do we draw the line between wanting personal space or like wanting interaction, wanting attention and everything, 'di ba? It's so difficult to read people, no? What are your thoughts about personal space, Dinah?
Um, Personal space. I think for me personally, I expend a lot of energy na to my family and to close friends. And like uh Shane's I think Shane and I are similar in that aspect na to close friends, syempre may energy
Mm-mm.
and G lang. And I think he said before na I'm the more outgoing one, like between the two of us. I think it's just because na I got used to putting a face on, siguro. If
Yeah.
when it comes to other people, siguro na you don't know that well, you're
Or
not that
putting a
close to.
boundary, yeah, between other
Yeah.
people.
Kasi
That's
like,
different when you be with your close friends, no?
I
Parang
think,
there's the shield goes off, no?
yeah. Kasi when I'm used to your leading groups, ganyan. And syempre the
Mm-mm.
members aren't always your close friends. So you have to reach out to them and stuff. And I think iba yung ako na like siguro would reach out to them than to how I would be with you guys, with Shane, ganyan. Nasanay lang ako with my personal space na hindi naman breached, pero hindi siya yung laging na-prioritize ko. I don't know, which is
But
just
you feel
siguro
okay
my
with it,
social life.
anyways.
Yeah, yeah. I've learned to, I guess, with people that I know won't really have an impact on my life, siguro,
Mm-mm.
na not to mind them and
Yeah,
learning when to say no or walk away is really important
yeah,
in relationships.
I agree. I agree. Thank you, Miss Dinah. Now, Sean, alam naming mahalagang personal space sa'yo kasi architecture student ka. Kailangan mo talaga ng espasyo para sa mga plates
Oo.
mo. Pero with regard to mental health, how important is personal space for you?
Speaking of architecture, I want to take this into the context of architecture. I know we're not
Mm-mm.
talking literally about the physical personal
Yeah.
space, but take this as a metaphor. So, kunyari, society is like your house, kunyari, and there are different spaces in that house. May living room that's mostly for um, you know, hanging out with your friends and family. Other rooms, kitchen, ganyan, ganyan. And then you have like your own personal space, your bedroom. And in architecture, parang hina-highlight namin lagi yung importance ng spaces, how they're designed,
Yes.
and
Oh,
parang
You know,
how
tinan mo, may
those
reason pala yung guesting mo dito after all.
after all, we found out.
After all.
And then
Kasi wait lang for context kasi naiinis si Sean. Parang iniisip niya na parang odd one out siya. Kasi yung dalawa kong in-invite from BS Psychology. Tapos si Sean, architecture. So,
kasi,
so ano ako dito, Hen?
kasi parang yung mga guests mo, 'di ba, parang professors from your school, ganyan, ganyan. What
Yeah.
may mga credentials, tapos ako student of College of
Yeah.
Architecture. But
Yeah,
then,
but since
it
we're
all worked
talking
out.
about personal space here and
Uh-huh.
one's living conditions, I think it's important that we have a person speaking from an architecture perspective. Wow, amazing.
And then, yun nga, as I was saying, yun nga, in architecture, lagi na-highlight yung importance ng spaces and how it affects all of us, our lifestyle, our moods. Ayan, so essentially, you have spaces for different kinds of things. And sometimes, parang one moment gusto mo nag-hangout ka with your friends and family, your living room, or your
Mhm.
like outside, and then sometimes you just want to shut the door, and then have the time for yourself, like your own personal space in your room to do the things you like, to rest. And yun nga, to set aside other things muna. And then when you're ready, parang yun nga, you're ready to face people again. Hindi naman sa like you're totally isolating yourself from them. It's just that sometimes you need yung time you spend with your family is just as important as the time you spend for yourself. So that's what I'm
Wow.
trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
May
it's
tanong,
important na
may
kahit
tanong
Like
yung
Sean's
audience.
metaphor.
Oo.
May tanong yung audience, Sean.
Mm.
Paano daw kung studio type lang?
Studio type. Well then, even if studio type, you can still set your boundaries, no?
Wow.
Kasi there are always ways to like set like kunyari you're
Bumili ka daw ng divider.
Hindi.
Bumili ka daw ng divider para mo separate yung studio type.
Ang mahal daw na divide. Cortina na lang.
Joke lang. Kidding aside, ano.
Parang ganun din. Parang
Parang ganun din. Parang divider nga.
parang divider nga. Parang either way, you must find a way para ma-separate pa rin yung
Yeah.
interest mo,
Yeah, and I
relationships
think
with people. Ganun.
regardless of the physical actual boundaries like the divider, I think it's also important that we learn to communicate with other people, no?
Yeah,
Na parang
I think so.
establishing your personal space doesn't mean that you won't be communicating properly with everyone around you anymore. 'Di ba? Na you can definitely say na, hey, I'll be working here. I'm gonna be working for quite some time, so please don't interact with me. Tapos there was this post na parang naglagay siya ng paper sa likod niya, naka-stick, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Saying na ano, please do not talk to me because I'm a very parang the context is if the people ever do talk to the person, madidistract
Person
na
will keep
siya.
on talking. Yeah.
Yeah, and therefore they would not be able to get any things done. So
Very
yun, I think,
Dyna.
Oh my
Parang
God.
need ko ng ganun para kay Sean.
yeah. Yeah, so I think
May
it's
ganun po ba
very-
online?
Maglagay ka na ng away sa Discord, parang ganun. Joke lang.
Hindi ko
Kahit
magana
away,
yun.
tinatawagan. That's very me.
Ikaw, nakamute ka na sa akin. Tawag ka pa rin ng tawag.
It's so true. But then anyways, let's not underestimate the value that communication brings. Diba? We can...
Mm-mm.
But
I think
sometimes
dun
it's
rin-
so hard to set boundaries, like verbally say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think doon rin papasok yung importance of having yung small circle of friends na nakakaintindi talaga ng mga needs mo as a person, yung having personal space. Na parang if you need to take time off, they will understand. Hindi sila parang hindi nila
Mamasamain.
guilt trip ka.
Mm.
Oo, parang ganun. Yeah.
Okay. Natatawa lang ako kasi naalala ko yung ano. We're talking about personal space tapos ako dito. Tumatawag kay Sean habang tulog siya.
Oo.
For
Grabe po
context,
yan.
nakamute na ako kay Sean sa messenger.
Yeah.
Kasi
Alam-
there was this one time na nainis talaga siya sa akin.
To play.
Natutulog
All
ako,
caps.
vibrate yung phone ko. By the way pala, tumatawag siya dahil ini-invite niya ako dito sa podcast na to. Isang beses.
Oh my God.
Very ironic, no? We're talking about personal spaces. Ako mismo yung
Now
breaking
Henry's
this boundary.
learning.
No, I'm learning. Thank you. We
Nangyari
actually
din
needed
sa
this
amin.
podcast. Ano, Shane?
Nangyari din sa akin yun kay Henry. Nasa server kami sa Discord, di ba? Tapos may ginagawa ako. Nagsithesis ata tayo na tayo. Tapos tumatawag siya sa Discord. Nandun ako sa server.
Ah!
Nandun ako sa server.
Invite
Hindi
ka
ko
na sa
alam yan.
podcast.
Tumatawag siya. Tapos inano ko na, binaba ko na. Tapos sabi niya kailangan mo, kailatin mo. Ay, sabihin niyo na lang kay Shane, may sabihin ako sa kanya, Tapos chinat niya pa ako. So, sinabi niya na, kailatin mo, chinat niya pa ako. Tapos tumawag ulit.
Oh my God. Sobrang ironic. Ako yung nag-talk about
Mhm.
personal
Para
space.
sa'yo pala tong topic na to.
Well, actually po, ako po talaga yung guest dito. I'm the one learning.
Oh, actually, since we're talking about personal space and social
Mm.
media, ganun, I think it's really important to point out then na yung parang with social media, di ba, everything is so
Mm,
easily
mm-mm.
accessible. We're all connected lagi. And I think
Mm-mm.
sometimes nabublur dun yung line between your
Yeah,
social life
yeah,
and
the
personal life.
personal
Ganun.
life. Oh.
Then parang in the middle, parang napapressure ka to like, make contact with other people and then
Yeah.
parang totally shut yourself off for a while. Ayan.
Especially if it's about work, no? Minsan,
Oo.
minsan iniisip mo, ay, nag-chat siya about work sa Messenger. So, parang iisipin mo, should I shouldn't message them at this point in time kasi this is already my personal time. Pero at the same time, nagigilty
Yeah.
ako kasi parang, what if
Yeah.
this is
But
urgent
work.
or something? Di ba? So parang, it's hard to draw the line between personal space and space on social media and work and other things. Kaya, I think it's also important to note na personal space also exists in social media, not
Yes.
just in our physical boundary. Wow, I'm speaking bars right now.
Pero ikaw mismo, hindi mo ina-applyan, ha? Joke
Calls
lang.
randomly in the middle of the night.
Pag hindi makontak sa PM, mag-call pa sa GC.
Pero
Totoo.
at least sa
Especially
atin niya
kapag
lang
excited
ginagawa.
ako. At least pa yun.
At least sa atin niya lang ginagawa.
Thank you, guys. Next, what is your ideal social environment? How do you expect people to treat you or behave when they're in the same zone as you?
Actually, depende. Kasi, yun nga, minsan kasi, di ba, parang, okay yung mental health natin. Wala tayong problema. Hindi tayo stressed or anything. Tapos may mga times na, wrong timing talaga. May mga tao na lalapit sa'yo na habang stressed ka, yung galit ka sa mundo kasi may mga dami-dami kailangan gawin pero hindi mo magawa. So, ayun, minsan, yun nga, wrong timing. Parang, dahil doon, bigla kang magsasprout. Pero hindi ko naman sinasadya. Parang, may mga times kasi na, hindi kasi perfecto ang tao, di ba?
Yeah.
May mga times na napupuno tayo. So, ayun, siguro, sa question na yan, wala Ang ina-expect ko pa rin yun. Dapat alam natin yung boundaries natin. Yun talaga. Kasi
So
parang,
still, yeah.
yun nga, may mga times, hindi naman natin alam kung ano pinagdaanan itong taong to. Ako kunyari, kahit nakikita natin isa't isa, tayong apat, di ba? Parang, nakikita lang natin yan. Ito lang nakita natin. Hindi natin alam. Baka mamaya may pinagdadaan pa siya mas malala. Hindi, magaling lang siya magtago. So, ayun, siguro dapat i-consider natin na hindi laging okay ang isang tao. Hindi rin siya laging hindi okay.
Yeah, no matter if they're displaying like really good vibes, na parang okay lang siya and everything. Kasi at the same time, maybe it's their coping mechanism, displaying that kind of attitude na, oh, I'm gonna display a happy attitude because at home, I'm not happy about everything and the things that are going on. Parang ganon, diba? In a way, it's like a coping mechanism. So, we shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, tsaka siguro pagdating sa mga ganyan. Kasi ako depende kasi. May times, kasi ambivert kasi ako eh. May times na introvert ako, may times na very extra. Very malupit sa mga sa kahit sino. Tapos, ayun, siguro tansya na lang din. Parang pakiramdaman. Kung okay ba yung tao, okay ba siya lapitan? Gusto niya ba na may lalapit sa kanya? Yan, siguro isipin natin yung gano'n. Parang, good mood ba siya today? Kailangan niya ba ng kasama today?
Yeah.
Anong may itutulong ko sa kanya ngayon? Kung lalapitan ko siya, anong may effect na sa kanya? Gano'n.
Dinah, what's your ideal social environment?
I was thinking about my answer. I think not just how I want people to act around me, but I guess in general is parang always be mindful of others and make sure your actions aren't hurting others. But at the same time, kasi like Shane was saying na people are not perfect and there's just sometimes when it's the wrong timing and your mood and how the people is acting. Even if that's how they act normally, just na di talaga maganda yung combo. So like I think it's also good for your mental health personally to not expect every time na everyone and every situation will cater to you kasi not everyone can do that. So you have to know your own boundaries and parang you have to protect yourself na lang then. Of course, you can count on close people to help you or be more accepting or complying to you.
Yeah.
But if you're in the general public, syempre you can't always have that.
Thank you, Dina. Sean.
Add
Ano,
ko,
Shane?
wait, add ko lang yung sinabi ni Dain.
Oh.
Lagi kasi sinasabi ng mga older generation to. Like, lagi ko siya naririnig. Parang sinasabi nila sa atin na hindi mag-a-adjust yung mundo para sa atin.
Oh.
There's
Parang,
some truth to it,
mm
even if it's
Yeah.
harsh.
Yeah.
Yun yung parang, nag-gets ko. Like, dati hindi ko siya mag-gets yung kahit yung bata pa ako. Hindi ko siya naisip. Ngayon, parang naisip ko na, oo nga, no. Kahit anong nangyari sa akin, kahit madami akong pagdaanan, hindi natitigil yung mundo.
Yeah.
Ayun, kahit ano siya, kahit harsh siya. Totoo siya.
Ganun lang talaga.
Like, kahit may pinagdadaanan tayo, parang laban pa din.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Share ko lang din na first-hand experience ko with that exact situation was when my brother passed away, and it was like the second week of December.
You're
And
what?
then when my younger brother passed away,
Dina, I'm so sorry to hear that. I didn't know that.
it's okay. It was back in 2019, and legit yung experience ko with like especially school was that like the world doesn't stop turning and not everything will adjust to you. Syempre, I did what I can to maano yung grades ko and exams, but like that was so hard, especially with what I was going through at the same time. But like I think I had the solid like support naman from my family and friends. So like nakaya ko siya.
Aw. Dina, if ever you need someone to talk to, I'm just here lang. Nandito lang kami. Ako
Oh.
lang ba yung hindi alam yun?
I think so.
Sean, alam mo yun? Uy, hindi niya
I've
sinabi
heard
sa...
about it.
Well,
Wait,
anyways, I
Kyle.
think there's
Napunta ka
some...
na sa kanila eh.
Oh my God. I did not know. Well, I think there's at least there's some advantage to me not knowing. At least I did not treat you any different. I treated you as a normal
Yeah.
person and as a friend. And I think that's really cool, no?
Mm-mm.
Na regardless of whether may pinagdaanan ko or what, I've been a good friend to you. Oh, I'm proud of that.
O, hindi ka
Sinasabi.
sure.
Oh my God.
Self-proclaimed.
Or at least I think so, quote unquote. Have I
It's
been
okay,
a
it's
good
okay,
friend to
Henry.
you, Dina?
I'll think about it.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Have I been a good friend to you, Dina?
Yes, of course.
Oh,
Yun yung part na ilalagay mo, no? Hindi
Yes.
my
hindi yung I'll think about it.
Cut everything.
Yeah, edit out yun.
Cut everything. Oh.
So,
Oh.
Sean,
Ngayon ko lang nalaman yun. But at the same time, I'm proud kasi I did not... I've been a really good friend to you. At nagkita na tayo. It's just amazing.
self-proclaimed.
True,
Okay.
Henry.
Pa-report
the
po
same
ng
time,
podcast
you-
na to.
And at the same time, you've been a good friend to me. Oh.
Oh,
Parang
he
hindi na
saved
self-proclaimed.
himself.
Oh. Hindi na
Yun yung totoo.
self-proclaimed.
Okay.
Yun yung totoo, Henry.
Oh, tara na
I
sa
has been a good friend to you.
Bakit yung isa hindi?
Pag-iisipan pa daw niya.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, moving on. Sean, what's your ideal social environment?
Honestly, I find it hard to answer. Maybe because hindi ko pa siya actually nabibigyan ng time isipin or like usually naman like no one really knows agad kung ano yung gusto nilang type of environment, but I think a lot of it comes down to yung personal space na each of us require. Like me personally, like there are times that I can interact with people like normally, like a normal person. Pero I'm the type of person that really values yung quiet environment ko. Because usually dito sa bahay, I'm yung quiet type, I'm the silent type, and my family knows that very much. It's mostly because it's the environment I'm used to. Like usually mag-isa ako dito, and I've learned to put a lot of value in that. And I think yun siguro yung environment na I would really like to have is one that recognizes yung importance nun. Like if I really need this time for myself, I want you to be sensitive of that. Anyway, sensitivity to what other people require. Like they said, you're not always gonna get what you want. So I think it's important then na you learn how to cope with that if hindi mo siya makuha.
Alam mo, I agree kasi um, ako, I used to think that my own ideal social environment is an environment where people are sensitive enough that to the point na they're conscious whenever they feel like they're too offensive or not, yung mga their choice of words and everything. But then it hit me when Dinah said na hindi nag-a-adjust ang mundo para sa'yo. And sometimes maybe it's us that we need to change our perspective on. Siguro just the right amount of sensitivity, and then just the right amounts of including our individual values in the equation, 'di ba?
Balance lang.
Balance.
Yep.
Kasi of
Balance.
course you can't expect everyone to always be sensitive about you every time. What if there comes a time na there was someone who breaks away from that thought and that idea? What would happen, 'di ba? You're magagalit ka, I'm gonna go crazy, I'm gonna think ang insensitive naman to, hindi na ba niya naiisip yung mga pinagsasabi niya? But then you realize that sometimes it's also a coping mechanism.
Mm.
'Di ba?
Mhm.
Mental health is so complicated that there there is a lot of problems in the community and in the individual that we need to be able to distinctly be able to identify whether that problem is their problem or that problem is ours, or whether or not we can mitigate that problem as well, diba? Kasi sometimes, yeah, we may be offended, but sometimes ako, if it's necessary, I just keep it to myself. Kasi sometimes that one wrong deed done by a friend, or that one insensitive moment, sometimes doesn't equate to all the good things that my friend has done to me. So parang yun na lang iniisip ko. Think about the good parts, think about the positive parts, but of course in the right balance din pa rin. So kapag sumobra na, that's when we call people out. So yeah, basically speaking, in to laymanize everything, basically my ideal social environment is a place where there's just the right amount of balance. Na people are sensitive, but at the same time, you are sensitive about their insensitivity. Gets? Tama ba?
Yes.
Tama ba?
Aware.
People are sensitive, and then we are sensitive about their insensitivity. Kasi sometimes pwede din namang tayo yung maging insensitive and we unconsciously do it, 'di ba?
Mm.
So yeah, just the right balance. Next question. How do you manage your mental health when you are placed in a not so ideal social environment? I'll start with that. Ako na magsa-start ito kasi this is an interesting question. There are a lot of times na I am placed in a not so ideal social environment. There are a lot of times na palagi akong na-offend sa mga sinasabi ng tao, and then iniisip ko, hindi niya ba naiisip yung mga pinagsasabi niya and how it's so offensive towards other people. Yun yung naiisip ko. And me, how I cope when I'm placed in these situations is I unnecessarily rant to other people And yeah, I agree. It's unhealthy and it's a bad habit because at the same time, trauma dumping is also just as important an issue regarding mental health. And it's important that you don't trauma dump unnecessarily towards anybody. It's important that you ask them if they have the right headspace, the right mental health to receive your rants and everything before you start trauma dumping. So yeah, it's kind of a bad habit, but then I've learned to think that um as time goes by, siguro um pag pinalampas ko and then a few hours and then a few hours later, iniisip ko, oh, it wasn't so bad. So parang na-realize ko na maybe a part of that problem is me. Na I'm being too
Yeah.
overly offended from every word that they say.
Yeah.
Kaya it's a good coping mechanism how I always start to take things slowly whenever I feel a certain emotion towards someone. Na anxious emotion or in anxiety attack ako. I feel grateful kasi I'm starting to learn the value of cooling down. Yeah, well, sometimes we get heated up but at the same time, we cool down naman. Kayo, anong thoughts nyo? What do you do when you are placed in an unideal social environment? Shane.
Ako kasi pag kunyari, ayoko nung environment. Tahimik ako eh. Hindi ako hindi ako nakapag-interact.
Oo.
Hindi try
Alam ko
makihalubilo.
yung ano mo. Alam ko yung behavior mo
Totoo.
kapag ayaw mo ng environment na yon or kung ayaw mo ng mga tao.
Oo, tahimik ako. Hindi talaga. Kasi usually kahit, kunyari kung may new face, pag hindi,
Oops.
pag-bet ko in general, hindi yung grabe ka naman, Henry.
Ay, akala ko pag bet mo yung tao.
Pag-bet ko in general, yung tao, like, pag-bet ko siya, friend,
Yung personality and
Mm-mm.
everything.
like, kakusapin ko paano ka nakausiwan. Lolokohin ko, bibiruin ko agad, aasarin ko agad. Gano'n, yung ipiplitin ko siya agad, gano'n. Pero kapag kasi ayoko sa isang situation, tatahimik na lang ako kasi inisip ko parang, ano bang mabuting idudulot dito sa akin? Wala naman. So, parang ina-exercise ko yun. Defense mechanism ko na. Extinction, yes.
Ay.
Basta ako, hindi ko talaga pinapansin kung feeling ko hindi nakakabuti for me or kahit
Mm-mm.
buong araw tayo magkasama,
Oo.
bahala.
I can attest to that. That's sobrang true niyan. Parang kapag hindi gusto ni Shane or kapag uncomfortable na si Shane, ay bahala kayo sa buhay niyo. Dito lang ako. Mananahimik lang ako dito. 'Di ba? I'll just sulk in a corner. Ganun siya. Tapos hindi na niya pag may tanong ka or something, hindi na niya papansinin or parang, 'di ba? Amazing. Kilalang kilala talaga kita, Shane. Oh, 'di ba?
Self-aware.
Tumatawa po si Shane ngayon, wala lang pong sounds. Pwede lagyan mo naman ng sounds para sa podcast, 'di ba? Pabebe.
Ganun ba yung sounds na gusto mo yun?
Pwede na. Sige na po, okay na po. May isa-share ka pa, Shane?
Hindi, hindi ko naman po, sinasabi na gawin niyo din yan. Hindi ko ini-influence, pero kapag may mga times talaga na, minsan talaga kailangan mo na manahimik. Kasi baka may masabi ka pa. Yun din, yung i-relate ko sa siramihan din. Minsan kailangan mo di ba cool down bago ka magsalita. Kasi di ba parang minsan may times na, yun nga, punong-puno ka na. So, pag nag-burst ka kasi, puro emotion, walang isip. Kaya, pag may nasabi ka, dire-diretso lang. Walang
Oo.
preno, walang kaya baka magkaroon pa ng gulo. So, yun din. Siguro important din yung cool down. Yun nga. Cool down. Yung tatahimik ka lang. Isip-isip ka muna bago ka mag-engage. Ayan.
Okay. Nice to know. Thank you. Nice to know. Dinah, it's your turn. How do you behave when you are placed in a not so ideal social environment?
Mm, I think like when I heard that question off the top of my head is I was like I shut down in those situations. Parang if I know better in those situations, then I'll just keep quiet and it's not worth to spend the energy to makipagsagutan pa or fight or like try to prove your point, especially when you know the people around you won't listen then.
Mm-mm.
So like um I think ganun lang. Syempre I'll try to I won't affect everyone with my mood. I'll also be socially pleasant but very ano na, very clear boundaries. Yeah. I think
Okay.
that's it.
What do you do when you are placed in a not so ideal social environment?
I think one way to handle it is you have to learn how to communicate it. Kasi, kunyari, I'd like to set an example. Um, Something I usually struggle with is learning to say no. Kunyari,
Oh, yeah.
example after school, usually like pagod and stuff, ganyan. And then, my friend ka na mag-aaya, kunyari. Um,
Yeah.
Gumala, ganun. Pero
Sino
ikaw,
yan?
kunyari, parang yung nag-aaya ng Samgyup. Libre niya na daw.
Ay, bawal mag, ano, ay, pwede mag no. Pwede mag no. Ako pala yung,
Taga-College,
ako pala yung malulugi.
taga-College of Science ba yan?
Medyo po. Kilala po ni Dinah. Okay, anyway.
Kilala.
Henry
Oo
pa.
nga.
Si Henry. Sama ugali talaga niya.
Same experience po tayo siya.
Pero ayun, going back, saan na ba ako? Ayun, kunyari, there are times na parang ikaw kunyari gusto mo umuwi na lang, take some rest. Kasi after a long day of like going through some stuff, you wanna take some time for yourself naman. Pero usually like, kunyari may mag-aaya sa'yo na gumala, go out. Um, like there's nothing wrong with that naman. But also sometimes you want to prioritize other things. No? And then,
Mm-mm.
ayun nga, I think it's important that you learn how to communicate what you feel to other people. Kunyari, like yun, saying no. I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with and like learning to decline or reject yung mga ganong klaseng bagay.
Yeah.
Pero di naman lagi you can get away with that kind of stuff, diba? Like, sometimes, I think second of all, kailangan mo rin matutunan to, for lack of better terms, power through that. Parang,
Mm-mm.
you have to recognize din na there are situations where hindi, paano ba, out of your reach na siya. So, sometimes, you just have to power through. Parang, certain situations are out of your control and you have to recognize that it will pass din naman.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
You just have to learn, yun nga, sabi natin kanina, the world doesn't stop for you. So, you have to learn then, aside from learning to value your own ideals or yung requirements mo or your needs mo, you have to learn then to power through these challenges, kumbaga.
Yeah. But one thing I like about our circle, no, is alam natin kapag clearly ayaw nung tao. 'Di ba? Kahit you guys don't necessarily say na no, I don't want to, parang no. Pero alam ko kapag hindi talaga kayo pwede. Like for example, si Sean sabi niya, may plates ako, gano'n, and something. Tapos medyo kabit-kabitan ko pa ulit pa-follow up ng, dali na Sean, please, please. Tapos kapag hindi talaga siya, then it means no talaga, no? Kasi, yeah, that's one thing I like about us. No, hindi na,
Kasi
hindi,
minsan,
ano
pag
natin.
sumasagot siya, sige, pag-isipan ko. Alam mo may chance.
Oo.
Alam mo,
Oo, alam mo talagang may chance. Kasi minsan sa iba, pag sinasabi nilang pag-iisipan ko, it doesn't necessarily say na they're actually thinking about it. Kasi sometimes, at the back of their mind, parang they're already declining. They're just needing some time to decline it, di ba?
totoo, parang ako lang. Pag kunyari inaya, sabihin ko, magpapaalam mo. Pero totoo, hindi talaga ako magpapaalam. Sabihin ko, hindi ako pinayagan.
Oo, 'di ba? Ganyan Pero tayo, I think ang ganda ng transparency natin sa isa't isa kasi alam talaga natin kung pinayagan tayo, kung alam talaga natin kung
Oo.
nagpaalam ba talaga tayo or kapag tinatamad sabihin, tinatamad ako ganun lang.
Sige, kaya mo na yan. Ganun.
Oo, oo, si Shane, linya ni Shane. Sige, go, kaya mo na yan. Kapag, kunyari, mag-invite kami to play, invite kami somewhere, sabi na,
Sige,
sige,
go.
go, kaya mo yan.
Sali
Ibig sabihin,
ka.
ayaw ni Shane.
Sali ka.
Oo,
Sige, go. Enjoy kayo.
oo, ganyan si Shane. Ganyan si Shane. Um, although it doesn't necessarily have the word no in it, already implies na, ayaw talaga niya. So, and I like it. I like that part. O sige guys, from now on, magno-no na lang tayo. Joke lang. Especially
Sige,
sa
kaya mo na yan.
Samgyup, ha? Sa Samgyup. Sa
Ay,
Samgyup.
sige.
Learn
Sabay-sabay
to sing.
tayo.
Sabay-sabay.
Itaas ang kamay.
Oh my God.
Alam mo, naalala ko, yung ginagawa ko pala kapag feeling ko ginagawa ko din naman to. Pag
Ano?
yung, kunyari, ayaw nyo dun sa situation, mag-phone, maglalabas kayo ng phone, kahit wala kayong gagawin, maglalabas kayo ng phone, magkukunong kayo na, ay, kunyari may kausap ako para hindi masyadong ay, kunyari may
Guilty.
ginagawa ako para hindi ako masyadong mapansin na
Oo, sa physical environment, sa physical interaction, no.
yeah.
Yep.
Especially kapag ayaw mo na yung topic.
Pag gusto mo, unti-unting lumayo,
Guilty.
mag-phone ka na, tapos, ay, kunyari may kausap ako, mag-chat na lang ako ng kaibigan ko.
Guilty as charged. Who
Naalala ko.
thirds the motion? may pag third and pag fourth dyan. Alam ko naman kayo din, Sean, pati Dyna. Yun
Tahimik
yung na
na.
kailangan sabihin. Si Dyna.
Yun yung
oo
ginagawa ko ngayon actually. Charot.
What the hell? Joke lang. Okay. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to dive into a medyo serious topic. We're going to talk about... Bye.
That's
Joke lang.
1 minute.
We're going to talk about domestic abuse concerns in the community.
I did
Um,
not expect that.
It's okay if you choose to share or not to share any experiences with regard to domestic abuse. But you can simply choose to share the state of the community right now with regard to domestic abuse. How bad do you think domestic abuse is? And how is it still rampant here in the Philippines in 2022?
Yeah.
Personally, wala akong like personal experience directly sa ganang issue. Pero I think it's good to recognize that a lot of people are going through this type of issue in their lives. And dito rin papasok yung environment na pinag-uusapan natin kanina. There are really people who have to endure this type of environment, this type of abuse issues in their life. And I think when you think about it, yun nga, sabi mo, it's a really serious issue na I think it really affects a lot of lives. Ganun. Maybe it may even lead to some more serious effects on people mentally. Ganun. Yeah.
And the thing is, it doesn't exist just with the husband to his wife or the wife to her husband. It's also the parents to the children. And that trauma is something that's really very, very traumatizing as a child. And yeah, me personally, I've had experiences with abuse, physical abuse, corporate punishment. Tama ba? Is that the right term for it? When we were kids. My only opinion about it is, to all the parents out there who still incorporates corporal punishment to their children, 3 words: it doesn't work. It never does. From I'm the middle child. Minsan yung mga description ng mga tao sa mga middle child, sila yung mga pinaka magugulo, pinaka crazy, pinaka mga disobedient and everything. I think sa aming mga siblings, sa aming tatlong magkakapatid,
Ako
ako yung
bookingan pala 'to.
hindi, bookingan ng sarili ko. Sa aming magkakapatid, ako yung pinaka-victim ng corporal punishment dito sa family namin. And
Nikki, can
it's,
you attest to that?
tulog na siya eh. Yeah, but it's true. Kasi from being the most frequent victim of that types of thing, I also have the most valid opinion regarding it, 'di ba? Kasi ako naman yung pinaka na abuse dito sa bahay. It doesn't work. It never does. I keep doing the same mistakes that I did in the past. And what I hate about it is I hated I hate the fact that my parents placed a stigma to me as a child in the mistakes that I did that was supposedly normal for a child to do, 'di ba? I mean siguro we were placed in this too perfect of an environment that the slightest bit of mistake that I do, I be abused about it. And I don't blame my parents. I don't blame my mom and dad kasi at the same time it's a cycle din naman eh. 'Di ba? Parang that happened to them so they feel like they need to do it. And there
Especially
came
like in Asian households, parang naging
oh
normalized ano na siya, culture thing.
yeah, especially pag mga jokes and everything. If you watch Stephen Hay, the slipper throwing part na sobrang nakaka-relate tayo lahat kasi parang it's so
Mm-mm.
true, and at the same time it's something that we have to break kasi
Totoo.
grabe yung how it played a part in my life na there came a time na na-traumatize na ako to even do anything to my siblings. Like, and even the good parts, nahiya na ako to even feel anything, to even do anything. Kasi, it stigmatized me in a way na, as a child, I should already be perfect that early on in my life. Which
Yeah.
shouldn't ever be the case for every child out there. It doesn't work. I repeat, it doesn't work. Every child is bound to repeat that. The mistakes that they did. There's a lot of better means out there than to result in corporate punishment. What are your opinion about it?
I think in a way, madadala mo rin yung um, behavior na yun kapag pag yung dumating yung time na
Yeah.
uh, ikaw naman yung parent or elderly na kailangan mong pagalitan ng bata, ganun. Para yun nga, it's up to us then to break yung cycle ng uh, pagiging abusive.
I agree. Dinah, what are your thoughts about domestic abuse in the country?
Mm, I'm not super knowledgeable about the state of domestic abuse in the country, but I know that it's but it's like the numbers aren't always that accurate because it's a hard thing to report and to bring to
Mm-mm. Well,
authorities.
actually, that's also true.
Because it's
There's also this stigma with regard
and
to
yeah,
seeking help from domestic abuse.
yeah,
Kasi kasi when we think about it, there's this fear of being caught by your partner who's abused you, and then it in turn he abuses you even more or she abuses you even more. So breaking gender roles, females also starting physical abuses is also a
mm-hmm,
possible
Yeah.
occurrence. That's
yeah,
why we shouldn't lean upon the thought that when we talk about domestic abuse, it's only about the man to a woman or the husband to a wife, but also to a wife to a man. Yeah.
yeah. I think besides that stigma, then there's so much factors to think about because they could be dependent on their partner.
Mm-mm.
Because they could have a family, then they could have like nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can sustain themselves and their kids if ever naman na maghiwalay sila. So like um I guess that's in terms of mental health, that's very taxing then kasi the stress, there's already mental stress and then there's also the physical abuse from it.
Mm-mm.
So and yeah, like your exam, like what you said, Ngana, it's not just from the partner to the partner, but also to the kids of the family that's affected, and that sometimes the abuse is directed to. So I think it's even harder in that case kasi kung bata ka lang and it's normalized in the society, parang um what can you do against it? What can you do for yourself? So I think na it's important na newer generations recognize this mistake, and like you said, it's not effective, and there's other ways, better ways to correct children and to raise them, so we don't repeat that like
Yeah.
trauma anymore.
Yeah, we end the cycle. The cycle
Mm-hmm.
ends here. Yeah. Salute to
Yep.
all the parents out there who are like so patient to their children. Na
Yeah.
no matter what, still choose to communicate. Kasi at the same time, we're only children once in our life, no? We're bound to grow up, mature, and learn about being able to decide properly with regard to ethical choices and everything and our behavior and all. Shane, what are your thoughts regarding this?
Yung sa ano, when it comes to relationships, like domestic abuse, when it comes to ano, husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. Dito kasi sa Philippines, parang mas kapani-paniwala na ano, yung girl yung in-abuse. Yun nga pa, yung sinabi mo
Yeah.
kanina. Siguro, it's about time na ano, yun nga, tanggalin natin sa gender roles na yan. Para lahat tayo, pwede tayong ma-abuse ang kahit sino. Basta abuser, mga abuse.
Yeah.
Kahit ano ka, kahit girl, boy, baka tomboy, kahit sila, kahit ano sila, kahit girl, boy, baka tomboy, kahit ano sila. Kung abuser sila, mga abuse sila.
Yep.
I guess yun yung ano, yun yung dapat natin isipin na hindi porket babae ka, hindi ka pwede mag-abuse, hindi porket lahat ka. Ikaw lagi na ma-abuse. When it comes to ano naman, sa parent and child, yung punishment kasi, parang it's more of instilling fear kesa sa
Yeah.
ano. Yun, kaya parang pag lumalaki yung child mo, tapos yun nga, yung patuloy na ano, patuloy mo siyang pinapunish. Parang,
Yeah.
yun, doon nagkakaroon ng ano ng, yung, ano yung saying na ano, parang strict parents raise blah blah children. Sneaky children, ganun. Parang
Most
ganun
secretive,
yun. Ganun yung thought. Kasi parang,
Yeah, amazing.
since fear na yung ini-instill mo, paano lalapit sa'yo yung anak mo kung takot sa'yo? Paano mag-open up sa'yo? So,
Yeah.
ayun, siguro yun yung kailangan natin
I
baguhin.
agree.
Especially
Tapos,
sa Asian families.
Oo, Asia.
Very,
We
ano,
normalized it too much that that it's unhealthy already.
At saka ano, yun din. Since parents kayo, dapat iniisip yun na yung mga bata, yung children, it's their time to make mistakes. Hindi naman sila perfect. Walang tampo. Tsaka, it's their time to make mistakes kasi doon sa mga mistakes na yun, doon sila natututo.
Tsaka andyan ka para sumuporta and to correct them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
they should learn to depend on you.
yeah. Alam mo, it's so important. I'll just give emphasis to what you said, Shane, na when you when you incorporate punishment or physical abuse to a child, that the thought of the child usually goes, um, I should not do this because of the fear of receiving this.
Yeah.
'Di ba? And instead, I think the better way to frame it would be, oh, I should do this instead because I will be rewarded for it. 'Di ba? I think that's a more healthier perspective rather than I shouldn't do this because if I do this, I'd be punished for it. Bad things will happen. No, instead of fear mongering, maybe incorporate the rewarding aspect of it, and that's so true. I think we as a children can easily fall prey to ano mga ganyan, mga reward. Ay, may candy ka sa akin kapag ano ka. Mga
It's
ganon,
very
everything.
effective
Yeah, I think that's just
positive
as effective,
reinforcement.
no? Than just resulting to physically abusing the child. Tapos, yeah, 'di ba? Instead of instilling that amount of trauma early on, why not just give him candy if he doesn't do it? And then if he breaks with the rules, then don't give the candy. Give the negative repercussions of the child not following the rules. 'Di ba? Give the
Mm.
incentive and don't give the incentive if they don't end up
And you should
following it.
let them understand where they went wrong, like why that
Yeah.
situation or that behavior is not warranted in the situation.
Yeah.
So like that's how they learn,
Mm-mm.
not through yeah.
I agree.
If they can't if they can't, because if it's through physical punishment lang, they make the wrong connections in their head.
Mm.
So like the mindset isn't about ano na, a corrected behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can I
Parang
add lang din
parang
something?
go.
Pero medyo ano na, like something you said before na about yung stigma between gender roles, yung um, men and women. So kasi minsan 'di ba, people like yung mga lalaki usually meron naman talagang issues na sila yung nasa other end ng abuse.
Mm-mm.
And I think um, may notion kasi na if ikaw yung ino-overpower ng babae, parang mahina ka or you're weak, tas
Mm-mm.
nawawala yung pagkalalaki mo. So I think this leads to a behavior na yung mga lalaki, whenever they actually go through this kind of stuff, parang they decide to keep it to themselves.
Yeah.
And then, yeah,
Kasi it's not something that's usually talked about by men, no? And
mm-mm,
it's not
Mm.
something that frequently happens to them. So they
oo.
don't know what to do, and as men, they are programmed to keep it with it
Yeah,
to themselves kasi dahil din sa gender roles and fragile masculinity and because of the culture that we grew up on. And it's
Yeah.
sad.
and I think this leads then to destructive behavior. Parang, I think, medyo sensitive topic siguro to, pero I think it's okay to talk about.
Mm-mm.
I had a tito last year,
Trigger
was
warning
it
pala,
last
by the
year?
way.
Trigger warning,
Trigger
guys.
warning.
If sensitive kayo sa topic na ganito, I'm so sorry. But I think it was 2 years ago when I had a tito who committed suicide. And then we
I'm
don't
sorry
really
to hear
know.
that, Sean.
Thank you. Um, we never really got the chance to know um, what he was actually going through. He was showing some signs naman and we tried to help like yung mga siblings niya. But then it just came to a point na ayun nga, it led to his unfortunate demise. And then ayun nga, it really sparked um, a lot of questions sa family namin, like what what was he really going through? And as a man, kasi diba, usually you just decide to keep them all to yourself. And I think it's time to break that kind of stigma na lalaki ka, kaya mo, kayanin lahat. And then you just have to go through it. Parang mental health is just as important for women as it is for men.
Mm-mm.
Kahit namang anong um, stand mo sa buhay, kung ano ka man, ano identity mo, it's important that whatever you're going through, you're able to express it without shame or guilt
Yeah.
or any negative labels na ano
Yeah.
sa'yo ng society.
Yeah, without the
Kasi,
slightest bit of stigma and discrimination.
mhm. Kasi it's unhealthy, honestly, na when you decide to keep all that to yourself,
Mm.
yeah, well, just wanted to raise that very important
Yeah.
point. And
We start speaking up about it. Thank you. What a meaningful discussion. Grabe. Okay.
sorry if naging ano siya masyado, naging dark.
Nag- No,
Yeah.
it's okay.
No,
It's
it's
okay.
okay.
It's
Like you said,
okay.
it's important.
Yeah, and your story is valid, 'di ba?
Mhm.
It justifies everything, no? Parang ayoko nang pag-usapan yung harmful effects of stigma and discrimination kasi parang paulit-ulit na lang tayo. Gusto nyo ba? No. Gusto ko na mag-proceed sa third segment.
Yeah, we
Oh my
can.
God.
I think that's sabi
Excited na
naman,
ako.
Yeah, man.
Excited na ako.
here's the tea.
Okay. Sige, proceed na tayo. Skip na natin to. Na-discuss ko na naman to with other episodes. So, I guess, redundant na rin.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for that sharing. Next, we will go to the third part of the podcast, which is Heroes the Tea. So, in this part, I'll be asking you questions and you just answer them briefly and to the best of your ability. Each of you guys.
Briefly.
Briefly. Briefly. Pwede naman magkwento slight, but then, yeah. Magiging Margites tayo dito. Joke lang. Okay, number 1. What is the most ineffective thing you've done to cope with your mental health? Let's go with Shane.
Gumastos.
Totoo. Totoo.
Ay, naman siya, no? Nakaka-relieve naman ng very light. Pero, pag naisip, oh, shh.
Very momentary.
Yeah, momentary relief lang siya actually kasi kapag after mong may get used to that object already, may realize mo na ay kailangan ko ba to? Kailangan ko ba talaga to? Tapos biglang buyer's remorse suddenly kicks in.
Tsaka yung maano ka sa pera siya. Like, hello, wala nang baon, wala nang empty. Tapos,
Mm-mm.
gastos pa ng gastos. Diyos ko doon.
Totoo. You know,
Kaya, mas nasistress ka.
spending, oo.
Masaya ka for a bit.
Imbis sa pagkaan tuloy-tuloy yan, masistress mo pa.
Oo.
Tapos ang malala doon, gagawin mo ulit.
Tapos ang malala doon, fake pala yung binili mo sa Shopee.
Ang malala doon, mas mahal pa yung delivery fee.
Yan. Take this important information para sa mga mahilig bumili at gumastos. It's just a momentary relief.
I can't hear
Yeah.
anything.
Yes, huwag po tayong mag-impulsive buying.
Yeah.
Pag-isipan mo natin na mabuti. Mahirap ang pera
Don't.
yun.
Just don't.
Mahal. Nagmamahal lahat.
Don't.
True.
Totoo. Thank you, Shane. Sean, ikaw naman.
Overly resting.
Ako din.
Kasi
Ako din.
you
We
should-
share the same ano.
Usually, ang problem ko is like, nahihirapan ako sa ACADS, nagpo-procrastinate ako and stuff. And then, parang, syempre, important naman talaga yung rest, like, do other stuff.
Pero
Pero,
marirealize mo din kapag sumasobra ka na minsan.
too much of something is really bad then.
Mm-mm.
Can become bad. So, dapat balance lang talaga lahat. You have to put importance in your work as you would put importance in your rest.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay. Thank you, Sean. How about you, Dinah?
Procrastination.
Mm-mm.
Hindi po siya worth it. Stress po ako habang nagpo-procrastinate.
Same.
Wala din napuntahan.
Lading napuntahan.
Okay, meron. Tapos na naman tayo.
Miss, hindi pa po.
Hindi pa po.
Malapit na.
Malapit na.
Malapit na.
Last
True.
cram. Last cram of the year. If you can put it off until the next day, then do it.
Yeah.
Joke lang, joke lang.
Motto in life.
You came to
Yeah,
the wrong
thesis,
podcast.
Henry.
Ay, nako. Okay, next. What mental health myth do you find most annoying? Shane?
Yung sa mga older generation, sinasabi nila na, pag kunyari may pinagdadaanan kasi nila, iniisip mo lang yan.
Totoo. Magdasal
my
ka na lang.
gosh.
Oh my god. I'm
Yeah.
cringing. I'm cringing so hard. Yeah.
No
Iniisip mo lang yan,
words.
magdasal ka na lang.
No
Magdasal ka
words.
na lang. Kami, nung panahon namin, put off na lang namin. Oh my God. Oh
Kasi
my God.
i-invalidate na. Nung panahon nga namin, ganito yung pinag-aralan. Tapos kayo ganito lang.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, the amount of mental health awareness that we're having in this generation is already good and amazing to the point na the old people are questioning it. Pero
Yeah,
the truth is it's progress. I think it's progress, no? We're
it
starting
is.
to be sensitive of other people's mental states. Ay nako, ang annoying talaga no.
Actually, yun
Iniisip
din
ko
sana yung
pala.
answer ko. That's
May
the first thing
motor.
that came
May
into
motor.
mind.
Ano, Sean? Actually, yun din yung answer mo.
Mm-mm. Yun agad yung pumasok sa isip ko nung tinanong mo yun. Sa isip mo lang yan.
Feeling ko yun talaga yung unang papasok sa isip ng kahit sino
Ah,
tatanungin mo.
Oo.
kasi lahat tayo narinig na yun eh.
Oo. Oo, like yung comparisonitis. Credits to Sir P from the first episode, comparisonitis. Like the old people would try their best to show na they've had it worse. That's why you have nothing
Yeah.
to you have nothing
Complain
to
about.
complain about
Ano ba
this
ito?
generation.
Competition.
Totoo.
Mm-mm.
Tapos,
Ay,
yun nga, yung sinasabi nila, ano, nung panahon nga namin, yun nga, panahon nyo yun.
Oo,
Iba
panahon
yung
nyo yun.
panahon,
Iba na
yung
yung
panahon
panahon
ngayon.
ngayon. Iba na ngayon. Sean, do you share the same sentiments with Shane and the same
Yes,
answer?
I
Okay.
do.
Okay. How about you, Dinah?
I think for me, something I had first-hand experience with was only diagnosed people can see therapists.
Yeah, that's
So
that's very
that was
important.
something rin na I learned from the classes, ganon. But
Mm-mm.
like, yung experience ko was that when we were mourning nung 2019 nga na, it was a thought to me you could go to family therapy or something kasi I didn't want, I know I'm a psychology student, but that doesn't mean na we're always ready to accept trauma dumping
Yes.
and
Yes.
ranting and stories.
Yeah.
But yeah, and wala lang, I heard, it was a phrase I heard a lot during that time na, di pa naman ako nababaliw, hindi ko kailangan mag-therapist. Ganun. It's just
True.
very frustrating to hear.
That's so true. And usually the people who are the victims of these things are the psychologists and the psychiatrists. Kasi sometimes there's this underlying thought already na, oh, I should only start seeking help if I'm already mentally unwell. 'Di ba?
Yeah.
'Di ba kapag physically, when we're talking about our physical state, we usually have we have an annual checkup, 'di ba?
Mm.
Regardless of whether you're well or not, 'di ba? And I think that should go just as much for mental health kasi usually kapag ang mga tao they only seek help when they already feel the symptoms of a mental illness, it's already a build-up of the layers of traumas that they've had in the past. That's why when they start seeking professional help, all these traumas are nagbobombard sa psychologists and psychiatrists, and to the point that it gets difficult. Although it's just as important na, it's okay naman to share all your thoughts about it. Sometimes there's still this stigma that's placed in mental health na it's not seen as a regular thing, yung mga consultations and everything, and I think we should start incorporating that. I agree. Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you, Dinah.
Wait,
Next. Ay,
may
ano?
naalala ko, may isa pa. May isa pang ano, si Dinah
Yes po.
kasi, sino,
Ano? Ano?
na-experience ko to first hand. Sabi kasi sa akin, dati, no, ano, basta may nagsabi sa akin, sabi niya, sabi ko kasi, may psychology, may friend ako from psychology na nakaka-experience sa na clinically diagnosed.
Mm-mm.
Kinakuwento ako. Syempre hindi ko pinangalanan yung ano. Tapos sabi niya sa akin, di ba dapat alam nyo na yan? Di ba dapat hindi kayo nakaka-experience ng ganyan kasi dapat alam nyo na yan. Explikatan na
Oh
yun.
no.
Nainis ako talaga. Sabi ko talaga.
Oh no. You're not
Pigilan mo.
invulnerable to these things.
Yun
You're
din.
not.
Yun yung ano.
Mm.
Yun yung annoying din for me na kahit maging psychologist ka na, kahit maging psychiatrist ka na, lahat naman tayo, prone tayo to mental disorders. Lahat tayo
Walang
prone.
immune
Mm-mm.
sa ganun.
Walang vaccine doon.
Totoo. Totoo. And we should also prioritize our professionals mental health. You guys, the psychologists, the future psychologists, and the future psychiatrists, and the future architect. may may
Left out
nalaleft
again.
out.
The,
May
the thorn
nalaleft
among
out.
the roses.
Okay, next, if you want to share, how did the worst day of your mental instability feel like? Start with Shane.
O, ako, nag-shutdown talaga. As in, wala akong inisip. Wala, as in wala. Paano pa? Yun nga, pag may reach yung point na yun yung parang, hihintay mo na, ayun, you're gonna hope that you fall asleep first before you fall apart. Yan, may mga times na ganun.
Whoa.
Ayun, yun, siguro, wala ako kasi nag-shutdown lang talaga. Wala akong ginagawa, wala akong pakialam sa kahit ano. Wala, mag-shutdown
That's
lang
so
talaga.
you. That's so
Mag-shutdown
you.
lang talaga. Ayun, yung
Okay.
worst, mag-shutdown lang.
Okay.
Maubos
Thank
sa
you,
social
Shane.
battery, ganun.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Ikaw, Sean.
The thing with this is I don't think I can sum it up in a day. Usually, pag mga ganitong bagay, it doesn't really just pass by like that quickly. Isang araw lang, parang okay ka na the next day. Usually,
It's
it
a
can take
phase, no?
a week or more than that.
Mm.
Para sa akin naman, yung lowest siguro na point ko with my mental stability is I turn to the most like destructive habits then. Like siguro I don't know if yun talaga yung lowest point ko. Pero sometime during the start ng pandemic where yun nga I was gaining weight, then wala akong ginagawa at all. Parang yun na siguro yung pinaka lowest point ko in my life. And
Thank you, Sean.
hindi siya isang araw lang.
Yeah, but you're valid regardless of whether you've gained weight or not.
Thank you.
Oh. Okay, thank you, Sean. Dinah.
I think same with Shane na parang shutdown lang ako. Like, when I try to recall, parang I don't even know what happened nung araw na yun. Basta alam ko when I'm like, feeling that low na talaga, tulog, tas while I'm trying to sleep, minsan may halong iyak, ganun.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's okay to hindi pala sometimes. It's always okay to cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one way of letting the emotions out, no?
Yep.
Okay. You are valid regardless. Thank you, Dinah.
You're valid to me.
Oh. Next, if you could change something about people's perception about mental health, what would it be?
I'd like to answer.
Sige, Sean.
You are not weak just because you're going through some mental health issues.
Yeah.
Hindi ka mahina porket may pinagdadaanan ka sa mental health. Kasi oftentimes I think, yun nga, people reject the thought na meron silang mental instability because ayaw nila ma-brand as mahina. Ganun. So ay natatakot siguro sila i-acknowledge yung fact na maybe kailangan nila ng help or kailangan nila ng kausap or ng therapy. So ayan, that's something I want to change regarding
Yeah. You're
people's
not a
perception.
yeah, you're not a lesser person just because you're going through mental health. I mean, yung ine-LBM ka ba? You became a lesser person, hindi 'di ba?
Totoo,
that,
totoo.
that was the worst possible example.
Pero it's so true.
'Di ba?
Kung
Hindi.
nagkakasakit ka naman,
Mm-mm.
hindi ka mas
Hindi
mahina.
nababawasan pagkatao mo.
Oo.
Yeah. LBM. Ang pangit na example ko. Yung nung natatay ka ba palagi? Yung, naging lesser ka? Hindi.
Kasi tabi pa sa mga kumakain.
Ay, oo nga po. So, I'm sorry.
Nakikinig ng podcast na to.
My word. My word.
Durug-durug
I'm
pa
sorry.
po, no?
Miss.
Oh my God, Shane.
LPM kasi.
Okay, next. Dinah.
You're not immune to it, and you will feel all these feelings at some point in your life, and it's okay to feel those. You don't reject them.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Dinah. How about you, Shane?
Siguro connected din sa sinabi ni Sean na you're not broken, you're not damaged. Kung may problema ka sa mental health, it's okay. Kaya, kasi most people kasi pag tinignan na kunyari may depression or something, parang isipin na, ang hina naman nito. Ay, sira to. Ganyan.
You're just being overly dramatic.
Parang, yun, siguro sa lahat. Like, all of us are valid. Lahat na nararamdaman natin. Valid yun lahat.
Yeah.
Kasi yun, we all have it different eh.
Yep.
I agree. So deep and meaningful. Thank you, Shane. Next question. If there's anything good that has come out of your mental instability, what would it be? Ako muna sasagot kasi ang ilang beses ko na tong tinatanong to all the guests in my podcast, but I really wanted to answer this part. If there's anything good that has come out of my mental instability, it's going to be I've learned to be sensitive on other people. Na parang, the same standards that I set upon people to treat me, I'm placing on myself na rin as well. Na, I should be able to do this for them as well. I should be sensitive enough for them to realize that I'm taking their mental health into consideration. And yeah, so that's what's good that has come out of my mental instability. How about you, Shane?
Same siguro. Kasi dati yun, dati dire-diretso kasi ako. Pag may gusto kong sabihin, wala nang isip. Very frank. Very, ano ba yan? Wala kaya kasi ako. Lalo na sa mga friends. Pero ngayon, actually ever since nung college, parang nagsimula ako na, ay, mali pala to. Parang, dapat pala nag-isip muna ako bago ako umano. Ayun, siguro yun. Kinoconsider ko, mas naging sensitive din ako.
Yeah.
Kinoconsider ko din yung mararamdaman ng ibang tao.
Yeah. Thank you, Shane. How about you, Sean?
Number one, ganun din. And another thing is, nagkaroon ako ng sense of parang resolve, kumbaga. Parang going through these type of challenges, parang nalaman ko na I can get through it naman. Parang, how do I put it? Even though there are some low points in your life,
Yeah.
na-realize ko na it's not always gonna be that way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Parang,
and I think
at
what you
some-
mean to say is na it looks big when you look at it at a glance, no?
at the
Pero
current-
if you start to break it down, you realize na oh, it's not so bad, and I realize that I can take it one step at a time.
Parang
Diba?
looking at it now, it looks really big, parang overwhelming.
Mm-mm.
Pero a few years later, when you look back at it, parang it's just a small portion
Yeah.
of your life, and you managed to get through it. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Sean. Dinah.
I think for me, one good thing I got out of it was um I know now how to handle a situation like that again, should I ever
Mm.
come across it ulit.
Yeah.
So hopefully in the next time that I do, I won't be in such a bad mental state siguro.
Nah, yeah. As
Yeah.
compared to the first time that you've had it.
Yeah. Kasi it was that bad, and hopefully naman in the future I'll handle it better.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
I
Thank
think
you.
the lesson
Ano?
here is um, you have to view mental health as something that's not parang it, related sa sinabi kanina, you're not broken. You're just
Mm-mm.
growing then in a way.
Mm-mm.
And
Yeah.
yun nga sabi, parang ni may quote ako na maganda eh. Sa akin naman. Para parang
Parang.
even when trees lose their leaves, they still have a chance to bloom. Parang gano'n.
Wow.
oh.
Oh ha, o pang pagmat mo na yan. Charot.
So nice.
Wow, amazing. Thank you, Sean. Okay, now guys, we'll proceed to the last part of the podcast, which is Hero You Out. So this is similar to Boy Abunda's Fast Talk.
Last
Um,
na.
oh,
Bilis
Ganon.
ay
naman.
gusto nyo papahabain? 2 hours na? More than 2 hours na? Joke lang. Okay, this is similar to Boy Abunda's Fast Talk. You answer either of the plano. You answer
Lots
either of
on.
you answer either of the choices, and there are no both as an option. Okay?
Huwag mo kami
Okay.
pinagdedesisyon na.
Ay! Ay! Pinagsabihan na ako ng psychologist. I know.
Paano kami sasagot na to? Like, isa-isa kami?
Ah,
May sabay.
isa-isa. Si
Ay.
ano muna? I will start with Dinah. Sabay ko. Huy, ayos ka. Shh. Huy.
Sabay-sabay tayo.
Ayun kasi.
Okay,
Itaas ang
yes.
kamay.
Sabay-sabay kami sasagot. Ano ba?
Okay. Okay, Dinah muna. Dinah, are you ready? Okay.
Ah,
Three,
okay. Go.
3, 2, 1. Your own mental stability or a special someone's own mental stability?
My own.
Number 2, forever socially isolated or forever socially interacting?
Socially interacting.
A healthy social environment or a healthy self-identity?
Healthy social environment.
Go out with friends or go out alone?
With friends.
If you could go back in time to tell your younger self something, in one word, what would it be?
Hoy.
In one word, describe mental health.
Important.
In one word, describe depression.
Common.
If you could ask any psychologist or a psychiatrist one free question, regardless of whether you have a mental illness or not, what question would it be?
Freud, why do you think like that?
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow, damn, son. Thank you, Dinah. Virtual applause for Dinah, please. Virtual applause. Okay. Clap, 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 clap. Next, we have Sean. Are you ready, Sean? Okay. Number 1, your own mental stability or a special someone's own mental stability.
My own.
Number 2, forever socially isolated or forever socially interacting.
Interacting.
A healthy social environment or a healthy self-identity.
Self-identity.
Go out with friends or go out alone.
With friends.
If you could go back in time to tell your younger self something in one word, what would it be?
Chill.
Wow. In one word, describe mental health.
Relevant.
In one word, describe depression.
Real.
Wow. If you could ask any psychologist or a psychiatrist one free question, regardless of whether you have a mental illness or not, what question would it be?
That's hard. What's the answer?
Wow. Grabe, parang ang deep naman ng question na yan. Okay. We proceed to the last, ang Reyna ng podcast. Miss
Si
Shane, are
Dina
you ready?
ulit.
Shane, are you ready? Okay, let's start Number 1, your own mental stability or special someone's own mental stability.
My own.
Number 2, forever socially isolated or forever socially interacting. Hello.
It's interacting.
Number 3, a healthy social environment or a healthy self-identity.
Healthy social environment.
Go out with friends or go out alone. Alam ko na
With
yan.
friends.
Oh, duh. If you could go back in time to tell your younger self something in one word, what would it be?
Breathe.
Wow. In one word, describe mental health.
Essential.
In one word, describe depression.
Mm,
Ano?
yeah.
Yeah.
Ah,
Pwede na yun.
no.
Ano?
Yeah. I agree.
Kaya one word. Dami namang words nun. Okay, but it's still valid regardless. Ano?
Hopeful.
Wow. Okay. And last, if you could ask any psychologist or a psychiatrist one free question regardless of whether you have a mental illness or not, what question would it be?
Why?
Can I just say, I think I misunderstood that last one. Na I could, if you were to ask any psychologist or psychiatrist, like well known, like mga pinag-aralan namin na theorists, yan.
Pero parang
But,
inisip
ano,
naman namin parang, wow, grabe, ang deep pa din ang question mo kanina. Pero go, now.
Dapat hindi mo
Sige.
na binawi, Dina.
Oo.
no, but I still stand by what I said. Yeah.
Sige.
Hindi, actually, yung why din sa akin. Parang kay Freud din yun.
Follow up.
Follow up.
Yung sa akin,
Okay.
para kay Shane.
Walang iya kayo. Walang iya kayo. Okay, ano yung revised question mo, Dinah?
Wala.
Wala na nga daw.
Ay, wala
I
na.
stand by it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Nainis siguro si Dinah. Ay, nako, ginigilty ako ng mga to. Sige na nga, mag-stand na ako sa previous statement ko. Okay, guys, in our country, in the Philippines, there are a lot of people who are struggling and are still skeptical of seeking professional help because of the stigma and discrimination that they're facing right now. What are your final messages to help improve and motivate them to start seeking professional help? Let's start with Dinah.
You aren't alone. The progress may be slow and maybe it hasn't reached you yet, but a lot of people and a lot of agencies are working towards better services for a wider reach as well. So as much as possible, reach out to your friends and to family if you can, because even a solid solid support from the people around you can help a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Dinah. Sean?
Mental health is very real. It's relevant. You're not weak. You're brave for making it and speaking out what you feel. Yun lang.
Thank you, Sean. And Shane?
Ayun, like what I said before. All of you, all of us are valid. So, kapit lang.
Ako yung naging audience. Parang sa akin yata dapat yung message na yan. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, your future psychologists or psychiatrists and architect. Oh, inclusive,
That's
diba?
me.
Inclusive. Thank you so much, Sean, Dinah, and Shane. It's been an honor to have you here in the podcast, and I hope there's a lot to take in the lessons, not just for the listeners, but also for us four. No, as friends and as close people who are bonding with each other all the time. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Bye, and I'll hear you out in the next one. Bye. Say goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Henny, for inviting us.
Sabay, sabay.
So hear me out. Ganon.
Angat buhay lahat.
Cue in outro spiel.
La la la, hear me out. La la la, you're not alone. La la la, hear me out. La la la, you're not alone. La la la, hear me out. La la la, there's so many things that we can talk about. So hear me out.